The pocket wallet was invented in the 17th century. Europe had switched to paper money, and the gents of the day needed a handy way to pocket their cash. There's a slot for everything: credit cards, ID, and of course cash. And yet these wallets remain slim enough to fit into a trouser pocket. These fine, handcrafted pocketbooks are made from high-grade, vegetable-tanned leather. An employee selects a hide and arranges it on a work table. Then he chooses a die shaped like one of the wallet's inside pockets. Using this hydraulic press, he punches out the part. He cuts 11 different components for the wallet's interior, using a custom die for each one. He chooses tougher leather in a contrasting color for the wallet's exterior. He now measures the thickness of the interior components. Using what's called a skiving machine, he shaves them down to 0.7 of a millimeter. Another worker preheats an embossing machine. It hot stamps a pocket part with the company name and the Royal Warrant logo, which signifies that the Prince of Wales purchases this company's leather goods. Using a different skiving machine, they shave down the edges of the exterior wallet parts. This thinner border will make the parts easier to assemble later. The next worker applies a water-based adhesive to a leather strip. It will reinforce the top of a fabric square. With this manual device, she turns the top edge to fold it in a straight line. This leather-trimmed fabric square will be used to create a credit card pocket. She stamps a thin groove onto the leather trim to give it some definition. Next, she builds a credit card slot with 2 of the squares. Using an awl, she scores a line in the fabric. The line serves as a guide as she stitches the squares together to complete the slot. She layers a third leather-trimmed block of fabric to create a second slot. Then adds a leather panel which forms the third credit card slot. She glues and tucks the excess leather over the back of the fabric packet. Then she checks the alignment of the slots with a tool called a bone folder. The next worker sews the credit card compartment together. There are 2 of these per wallet. They glue both compartments to the wallet's spine, made of fabric and leather. This spine is called the bend section because it bends to fold the wallet in 2. She attaches the bend section to a divider for the money pocket. This divider is a bit longer than the assembled interior components to facilitate the bending action. She glues a lining to the wallet's leather exterior. Here, she uses a special hammer to ensure the interior and exterior components of this wallet adhere well. Then she trims the corner of the rim to make it look neat. She rounds the corners of the wallet to give them a gentler profile. Now she stitches the assembly together, leaving the bill pocket open at the top. The next worker tucks a metal wedge under the rim to protect the rest of the wallet as she trims the rim close to the stitch. Removing these few slivers will make the wallet more flexible. She slides the bone folder into each credit card slot to remove excess glue. Finally, a few dabs of leather preservative, and this luxury wallet is ready for retail with a price tag to match. The only question is, will that be cash or credit? Briefcases come in many styles today. The classic type is a rigid rectangular box made up of two hinged sections that close together. It's often referred to as an attaché case because it was traditionally the type of briefcase used in diplomatic circles by cultural or military attachés. These luxury attachés are entirely handcrafted, made from English bridle leather, a fine leather traditionally used for horse saddles. The cutter lays out patterns for the various parts, then trims around them. Leather, being an animal hide, naturally has scars and blemishes here and there, so he's careful to select blemish-free areas for use as the main surfaces. Next, he uses a punch press to cut out what are called foundation boards, which will reinforce the leather. At this point, an expert leather craftsman takes over. He positions each foundation board on the leather. Using a tool called a bone folder, he marks where the leather will fold over each board. Then he coats the boards with leather bonding glue and positions them along the fold lines he marked. With a tool called a sleeker, he pushes out air pockets and excess glue. This ensures a thorough, wrinkle-free bond. Next, with a tool called a stitch marker, he perforates the edges of the leather. This ensures the stitching will be straight and evenly spaced. It also sets the angle of the stitches, essential for both aesthetics and durability. Now he bevels the leather. This leaves what's known as a raw edge, which he then colors and seals with a reddish stain that highlights the tan-colored leather. The attaché case frame is made of steel. The craftsman uses contact adhesive to mate the frame to the foundation board and leather. Now he can sew the leather. He inserts an awl in each stitch hole to clear a path through the leather and boards. Then he passes two strong saddle stitching needles in opposite directions, pulling pure linen threads waxed with tallow. Next, he rivets in place two traditional style locks made of hand-polished brass. Then he constructs the handle by sewing several layers of leather around a piece of steel. The handle has a raised rib on the top and bottom. These risers, as they're called, make the handle comfortable to hold. He uses the bone folder to fit a piece of finishing leather snugly against the risers. He glues finishing leather around the handle ends, feeds each end through a brass ring, then folds over the ends to lock in the rings. Then he wraps the rest of the leather under and hand stitches all around. The rings attach to brass handle plates, which he secures from the inside with washers and bolts. Next, he glues in the lid pocket assembly, an all-leather organizer that contains pen loops and pockets for files and business cards. Finally, he lines the bottom section with sheepskin leather that's been coated with a semi-gloss glaze, so it can be wiped clean with a damp cloth. The outer leather is strong and weather-resistant because it's been tanned with natural plant and tree extracts, then conditioned by hand with fish oils and lanolin, centuries-old techniques they still use to make luxury leather goods today.